everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I came in today to talk about my experience with the police, my story, because all of us, or at least the majority of us as Black people, we all have a story to tell about a negative encounter that we've had with the police. Now, this particular incident that I had, I will never forget, because I left that experience very scared and with a definite, long-lasting opinion of the police because of that experience. So let me just set the stage. At the time, I was about 33, 34 years old. I had two kids. I had a 3-year-old and I had a 10 or 11-year-old. So at the time, me and my guy, we were down to one car. His car was in the shop and we were just left with my car. So it was a scramble in the morning to get kids off to school, one to regular school and then the other one to daycare. So what we decided is this: because I had to be at work before him, I would take my son to the bus stop and my daughter to daycare. So that morning, that's what I did. He was going to catch the bus to work, and then when I got off and picked my daughter up from daycare, then I would go pick him up from work. So that's what our day consisted of. I went to work, got off, picked my daughter up, and then I proceeded to drive to his job. Now, when I was driving to his job, I was traveling southbound down a particular road in the city that I lived in. Now, along that road, there was a big police station that sat on a corner. Now, as you approach that police station that sat on the corner, when you got to the light where the police station was, there was a sign attached to the street light telling you that you could not make a left turn there because that police station was there. So I continue on after stopping at the light, and I go ahead and pick my guy up, and then we proceed to turn around, drive back down that same street. This time we're traveling northbound because we're headed home. Now, as I approach that street light where I knew that that police station was and that there should be no one turning left on that corner because that sign said no left turn. As I'm approaching that light, I see a police car coming in the opposite direction. It would have been traveling southbound. So as I'm approaching, the light is green. It had just turned green. I knew that I could go ahead and travel under the light because the light had turned green. Right as I was going under the light, the police car made a left turn, an illegal left turn, where that sign said no left turn. He turned so fast that I had to swerve to keep from hitting him, which landed us both under the light, cars going around us. Now, I'm sitting there because, let's face it, I almost just hit a police car because he was making an illegal left turn that I did not know that he was going to make. I thought he was going to follow, the direction of that sign saying no left turn. I didn't anticipate him turning. So this police officer proceeds to jump out the car. Now, let me just tell you who was in the car with me. So I'm driving. My guy was in the passenger seat, reclined. He was tired that day, so he had reclined his seat, and was dozing. In the back seat was my 2.5 or 3-year-old daughter strapped into her car seat. Okay? So the police officer approaches my car yelling and screaming. And when he got up to the driver's side door, he started banging on the window for me to roll down the window. All the time yelling and screaming, which made my guy wake up. He didn't know what was going on. He woke up to, cars going around us, a police officer standing at the door yelling and screaming. So he says, "Rachel, what happened?" So I'm trying to explain to him, I'm scared. I rolled down the window a little bit because, this police officer is yelling and screaming so forcefully that I was shaking. So as I'm trying to tell my guy what's going on, obey the direction of the police officer, my guy is assessing the situation. And he tells me, when you roll down the window, only roll it down a little bit because this guy is tripping. So when I roll down the window a little bit, the police officer says, "Open the window all the way and hand me out your license. You almost hit me." So while I'm rolling down the window halfway, not all the way, because I'm scared, he proceeds, the police officer, to put his hand on his gun. Now, I had my hand on the steering wheel. Of course, we've always been taught both hands on the steering wheel when you're encountering the police. So I tell him I need to take my hand off the steering wheel to get my purse, go in my purse, and get my driver's license. And I'm basically asking permission to do it. I indicated to him that my purse was sitting, between me and my guy, and I needed to reach and get it. Now, all the while, this police officer is screaming and yelling. So when I didn't let the window down all the way, he proceeded to take his gun out of the holster and point it at me in the car. He put it up to the window that was halfway down. Not a quarter, not a third. I had it halfway down. And told me, "I told you to let the window down all the way." So I'm trying to get my license. I'm saying, "Officer, you have a gun up to me. And I have a baby in the back seat." Now he's yelling and screaming, pointing the gun at me and banging on the window with the gun, which could have went off and shot us. So at this point, I start crying. I don't know what to do. This guy, this police officer has made an illegal turn here under this light. I've almost hit him. I'm thinking, oh my God, how is this going to end? I got this baby in the back seat. Lord help us. So around this time, another police car pulls up. And in this police car, there is a black police officer that is driving, and his partner is a white police officer. So they now pull up. We're all three under the light now. They get out and start walking towards my car. And I'm thinking, this is not going to end well. Not only am I going to be killed, my guy is going to be killed, and they're going to kill our baby too. So the other two officers walk up. The black officer asks, "What's going on? What's the problem?" So he looks in the car and he sees me, my guy, and this baby in the back. And he was paying particular attention to my baby. And he kind of went and stood beside the door in the back where my daughter's car seat was and where she was in the car, which made him stand alongside the police officer who had his gun out. So I started explaining that we were traveling northbound, on this road. We didn't know that Well, I didn't know because I was driving. I didn't know that he was going to turn left there. That I knew from, traveling along this road back and forth for years, that you're not supposed to make a left turn there. And when he unexpectedly turned, I almost ran into him. I said, I didn't know he was going to turn. I was obeying the rules, keeping straight, not making the turn, blah, blah, blah. So by this time, the second officer that was in the car with the black officer, he walks up to the passenger side of the car. And by that time, the first officer who had pulled us over, he was telling us to get out of the car. He had rushed around to the passenger side where my guy was, telling him to get out the car. He, through the window, said, I'm not getting out, especially not with you having a gun in your hand. And he was like, let's just calm down, let's try to talk this out, but we are not getting out the car because you have this gun and we have our baby in the back. So that first officer runs back around to my side and directs me to get out. Now, all the while, these other two officers are standing there. Eventually, the black officer says, hold on, man. Now, he's talking to the first officer. He says, let's just talk this out. Put your gun up. Let's just try to understand what's going on here and get these people on their way, To me, it appeared he believed us. He looked at the situation. He looked at where the police officer's car was and where I was. And I guess he said, this makes sense what this woman is saying. It does look like he was making an illegal turn, which caused her to almost run into him. So by this time, the black police officer walks up to my window and he bends down and he says, are you guys okay? And I by this time I'm crying, I'm shaking, damn near about to pee on myself. So I tell him, yeah, but I'm scared. He tells me, go ahead and pull off. And I said, oh God, are you sure? Because the other police officer, the one that we almost hit, he was talking to the white one. So I don't know what they were saying. And I was afraid to pull off. And I said that to the black officer. I told him, at this point, I'm scared to pull off, And he said, no, you'll be okay. Just go ahead, pull off slowly, and just you'll be okay. So I say, okay, and I go to pull off. So we had driven a couple blocks. And I look in my rearview mirror and I see a police car following us. And I'm like, oh my God, is this cop that, I almost hit, the one who jumped out with the gun, following us now? So I slow down, even though I'm doing, the speed limit, because I just had a negative encounter with the police. I slow down, and I'm driving about 25 miles an hour in the 35 mile per hour, area. And I could see in my rearview mirror that it wasn't that original cop. It was the black cop and the other white cop. And they continued to follow us. Okay? So I'm thinking, okay, why are they following us? So I drive a couple of miles with these police officers following us in their car. And that at one point, I was approaching a light that was turning red. So I began to slow down, and I noticed that the police car sped up and it went around some other cars and it flashed its lights. And then it ended up behind me. And then it pulled up alongside me. And the police officers rolled down their window. And they indicated for me to roll down mine. So I'm thinking, okay, here we go. This is it. They're about to shoot us, even though it was a black officer and a white officer. So I asked them, was I doing something wrong? I noticed that you were following me. And this is what the black police officer told me. He said, I was just making sure that you made it out of the area safely. Now, y'all, thing is, who was I in danger from? The other police officer? The original one? Is it that after they spoke to him, they knew that he wasn't done with the situation because they had let me drive off and he didn't get a chance either to write me a ticket or continue to threaten me with a gun damn near up to the side of my face, and they were worried for me, so they followed me for several miles to make sure that he didn't follow me. So I thanked them. They said, we're going to go ahead and go on now. They went on around me and continued on their way, and eventually, I saw them turn off, and then we just drove home. Now, for a while while I was driving, it was silence in the car. Other than my daughter in the back seat being a 2.5-year-old or 3-year-old, just chit-chattering to herself. She didn't know that we were just in danger. She was a baby, My guy and I, we were silent. Eventually, after a few miles, he grabbed my hand, and we were just driving silently, thinking about what happened to us. And eventually he said, Rachel, the reason why I told you don't get out the car, only roll down the window halfway, is because anything that we would have done that officer felt was out of line, he would have shot both of us and said that we were being, violent towards him, or he couldn't see our hands and he thought we had a gun. He said you could have gotten out of the car and he could have, pistol whipped you or whatever. He said that's why I told you, not to get out and not to roll that window all the way down. I did not want him to put that gun up against your head, and more than likely he would have, because he was on one. Y'all, I'm 55 years old now. That incident happened when I was about 33. So 22 years ago. I will never forget the fear. Just the sheer fear and horror that I had in that situation. I had never been in any encounter with the police where I was the driver, where it escalated so badly, and that I literally was in fear for my life. The reason why I wanted to share that story with you is because it demonstrates to you the horror that we feel when we look in our rearview mirror and we see a police car behind us, or we have an encounter where we see that they have noticed us and now they're coming to confront us over some infraction that they think we've done, or to intimidate us just because. This is the type of police brutality and disrespect that we deal with on a daily basis. When I watch the news now, and we're starting to see video of encounters such as mine, I say, like other black people say when we see those videos, this is nothing new. This has been going on for years. The only difference now is that we're able to videotape these encounters and upload them to social media and share our stories. That's the difference. Because my experience occurred 22 years ago. And then think about the experiences that some of you have had, or some of our fellow African Americans across the country. I'm pretty sure anyone that's listening to my voice that's black, you've had an experience, a family member has had an experience, or a friend of yours has had an experience that has left a terrible taste in your mouth when it comes to the way the police us. We say they are protecting and serving the hell out of us. You know, we don't have those experiences like white people have, where the police pull them over and they're able to curse the police out, shout in their faces, tear up tickets and all that. If we did that, we would be killed or beaten on the spot, and they would have said that we resisted arrest, that we were being menacing, or something to that effect. That's the experience that we have. So when I watch these people out here protesting, the other day I said that it doesn't bother me that they are destroying stuff. And guys, I stand by that. It does not bother me. Because when I think about all of the black people who have been basically lynched, murdered, beaten, harassed, brutalized by the police, I don't feel sorry for a building or some merchandise. I just don't. I can't even muster up sympathy for something that is a material good or real estate over a black life. I can't. Y'all, I tried to have sympathy or empathy for these business owners who are losing their businesses to arson or looting. I tried. But when I contrast that to the loss of life, I can't. I can't. I also watched the president have a press conference the other day. And there were protesters protesting in a park across from the White House. And as he stood there saying that he was the law and order president, he had ordered the military police to advance on those protesters with tear gas, pepper spray, batons. And we sat there and watched on national television, middle of the day, American citizens being attacked by American military police. What a sight to behold, y'all. Those military police are our sons, our daughters, our fathers, our mothers. How did they feel being given an order to attack fellow Americans? What does that feel like? Because at the end of the day, they're going to go home or back to their barrack and think about what they had to do. He did all of that so he could walk across the street and stand in front of a vandalized church with an upside down Bible, wielding it like he was some great leader. I was so disgusted and angry at what he unleashed on those people. Because those military police that advanced on that crowd, they were hitting them with batons. They were using their shields to knock them off their feet. People were running and screaming, terrified. And the thing was, those were peaceful protesters. They had been out there 8 hours that day, peacefully protesting, using that park as a place to rest, regroup. And the President of the United States had our military police, the National Guard, and the local police attack them. This is where we are today in this country. This president has no regard for minorities or any person who is of color. He is using a page right out of Hitler's playbook. You know, there's even a meme going around social media where there's a picture of Trump on one side holding up the Bible and Hitler on the other side holding up the Bible, much in the same way. This is how Hitler managed to turn the German people against the Jews through all his propaganda, saying that the Jews were, subhuman and not worthy of life, and they needed to be eradicated, and all of this type of just vicious talk. Everything that's going on in the country now is reminiscent of a lot of things that happened in the 60s. You would think that in 2020 we would be at a different place, but it appears to me that we are actually going backwards under this president. Because when you look out on social media and you see the comments under some of these stories about the brutality that the police are showing towards peaceful protesters, you start to understand that there is a segment of the United States that is drinking in what Trump is saying. This is fuel for the racist thoughts in their head, and it is causing them to go out and commit acts against journalists, because there have been stories where journalists are being attacked for simply reporting the news. There are law enforcement officers who are attacking them, and there are also citizens who are pumped up with adrenaline that they got from listening to this president. And they are attacking journalists brutally and attacking fellow Americans brutally. Y'all, I don't know how all of this is going to end. There's going to be some bloodshed. I truly believe that this is going to come to a head and something terrible is going to happen. And I really pray that that's not how this ends, with someone being murdered, which we're hearing about, protesters being murdered and, police officers being murdered because people are fed up and they're doing things that they wouldn't normally do. But It's just the chaos in the country under this current administration. I believe that it has stirred up a hornet's nest of mess. That's the only way that I can put it. I, like many Americans, African Americans, when I watched George Floyd being murdered, it took me back to my encounter with the police. So when I saw George laying on that ground, I said to myself, but for the grace of God, there goes I. Because that could have happened to me, my guy, and my baby. And with that, y'all, this is the end of the video. As always, I thank you for watching. I ask that you stay safe out there. If you're protesting, be careful. Because like I said, they do not value black and brown bodies. And if we don't value ourselves, if we don't come together, unite, and continue to fight, nothing's going to change. Just be careful doing it. You guys take care now and have a wonderful day.